Alrighty, so I'm going to do a 2-for-1 in this video where not only I'm going to do the news of the week and talk about some of the news that happened in MLS in the past week, but I'll also do a quick review in the World Cup Qualifier game between the US versus Honduras that happened earlier tonight in Minnesota. And I just want to quickly say that I actually did not watch that game. Originally, I was going to watch that game after I got off work at 5 o'clock, but unfortunately, I got off work at 6:30 today, and I basically missed the entire part of this game, and I kind of had to rely heavily on the highlights to see what actually happened in this game. So yeah, the review of that game is not going to be as in-depth as you usually see when I talk about a review after a US World Cup qualifying game, and definitely not going to be as in-depth as you saw in the US versus Canada game, but it's definitely going to be more in-depth than what I did in terms of just kind of a quick recap in the game between US versus El Salvador that was part of the Charlotte FC season preview video that I did. And also, I'll leave a link in the, well, not a link, but more like a timestamp in terms of when exactly I am going to start talk about that game, because I know for some US men's national team fan that's watching this, or some that don't really care about MLS, you can just basically click the timestamp when I start talking about the US taking on Honduras and how the US did in that game. Now, in terms of the news that has happened in the past week, now keep in mind there wasn't actually as much news as I thought we would get, even though, these past couple of weeks there's just been non-stop news that has happened and non-stop transfer rumors and signing that happened. Doesn't mean that there wasn't some interesting transfer news and some signings and rumors that happened around MLS, but it's just not as much as what we have encountered in the past couple of News of the Week episode, and hence that's why I didn't do a News of the Week video on Saturday. But certainly the biggest news coming out of this week, and it actually happened today, is DeAndre Yedlin. So it's confirmed that he is going to be signing with Inter Miami via the allocation order. So, when Inter Miami basically jumped into the number one spot in the allocation order, some people feel like, yeah, this move looks like it's coming. And, I've also heard that there was a rumor, and I'm not sure this is actually credible or not, but there was maybe a glimmer of hope that I heard that DeAndre Yedlin was linked with the San Jose Earthquakes. I mean, if that is the case, then I would absolutely take that, but I knew that was maybe too good to be true, because, yeah, in order for the Quakes to sign such a bona fide star player in MLS like DeAndre Yedlin, they'll need to pay him handsomely, and the Quakes don't spend some money, and also they don't own the top allocation order, but Inter Miami does, so they take advantage of that using to sign DeAndre Yedlin. And yeah, it's great to see Yedlin coming back to MLS after, he started his career with the Seattle Sounders. I mean, I'm pretty sure Sounders fans are not bitter whatsoever the fact that he's now going to be going to another team. And also, this is just another example of Chris Henderson's magic of how, it seems like he loves to bring some of his former Sounders player to his new team, and that it seems like Inter Miami is starting to go with the Seattle Sounders kind of philosophy to try to be successful, which is definitely not a bad philosophy to have, because after all, you're basically copying a team that has won 2 MLS Cup in the past 6 years, and a team that has regularly made it to MLS Cup pretty much every single year. So yeah, I think this is going to be a great signing for Inter Miami, and definitely, for DeAndre Yedlin, even though his European career didn't really work out as good as he hoped to, he's now coming back to MLS, and I think he is going to be easily one of the best, if not the best, fullback in the league this season. Now, Toronto FC have signed Carlos Salcedo from Tigres on a DP contract and sell Jefferson Soteldo to Tigres. I'm not sure why I said set Jefferson Soteldo there. That actually should be sell. And I'm not going to go too much in detail in terms of talk about this news, because I kind of mentioned that in my Toronto FC season preview yesterday, of the fact that, Salcedo coming to TFC as a DP player. And, I know there's that Cardinals saying that you shouldn't be signing a DP player, or you should be signing a defender as a DP player. But in this case, there's always a chance that they could buy Salcedo contract down, and I think Salcedo could be a decent player, and especially can really solidify that back line for this team that was an absolute mess last season. And then, of course, sending Jefferson Soteldo to Tigres, it's unfortunate that it didn't work out for him, even though, I mean, for me, I didn't think Soteldo was bad doing his time with TFC. I mean, I know TFC fans maybe disagree on that, but the way that I look at him, he actually tried really hard to basically they do well with this team, and unfortunately just have no support in cast because most of those players last season, and at least most of those star players for this TFC team, was either injured or out for the season. Now St. Louis. So they made a big announcement this week as they announced that they have signed their first player in their club history by signing Bosnian left back Silmer Pedero. I think that's how you pronounce, as the club's first ever signing. Now that's kind of a weird signings with the way that, you know, this is a guy that currently play in the Bosnian League, and I think he is currently playing with Sarajevo, and I'm assuming he's going to be playing there until St. Louis comes into the league next season. But I can also understand maybe there's a reason why St. Louis decided to sign him, and knowing that I think St. Louis has the biggest Bosnian population in the U.S., this of course would make sense to do so. But again, it'll be interesting to see if he of course will fit into this team. And you know, usually when a club announces their first ever signing, you know, sometimes when clubs announce their first ever signing, it could be a big name player or a player that just kind of never works out in MLS. So we'll see next year when Silmer Pedero does come to this St. Louis team, whether is he going to be a regular starter or just used as depth piece. But this is just the beginning for St. Louis to build their foundation in terms of starting to build a decent roster. And even though I know they still have one full season and one full year before they head into the league next season, you know, it can go by very quickly for them, and that their front office is gonna definitely work hard this year in terms of start building their team and start to think about fielding a decent team heading into their expansion year next season. Now FC Dallas have acquired winger Alan Velasco from Independent. Oh my god, I can't believe I can't pronounce it. I mean, it's not even a hard name to pronounce, but it's kind of also a bit of a tongue twister too. But yeah, this of course is another kind of news that I won't go too deep into it, because later when I do the FC Dallas season preview, I'll talk a little bit more about this guy and whether or not, you know, we'll see if he can of course live up to his potential. I mean, there's a lot of people say that he's a decent player, but knowing FC Dallas, you know, with them their transfer history and how they haven't really signed some great players, especially down in South America, we'll see whether this will changes with Velasco coming into Dallas, and also with a lot of pressure in him too, knowing the fact that he's going to be a young DP for this team and be a key attacking player for this FC Dallas team this season. Now another important player that is coming to MLS is David Yala, who is going to be going to the Portland Timbers for Estudiantes, and you know, this is a signing that I won't also go too deep into it, because it was pretty much confirmed a couple of days ago that he was going to be signing with the Timbers. Actually, not just a couple of days, but a couple of weeks ago. There was a rumor that this, of course, is going to be close being finished, and indeed it is now finished, and it definitely does give the Timbers not only more depth in terms of the midfield, but if he can develop to be a decent player, he could be a good replacement for Diego Valeri. I mean, I'm not sure if he play in the same role that Diego Valeri does in that number 10 position, but we'll see whether or not, if it of course would work out, and at least at the very least right now, this could be a good depth piece for this Timbers team in that midfield. Now Minnesota, they actually made a signing today announcing that they have signed Onel Fisher off of free agency, and I think this is a good signing, and in some way it's a must signing for them, knowing the fact that I've heard Roman Mentinier is still out with an injury, and that he's still trying to recover that hamstring injury that he suffered in that game against the Portland Timbers. And also I feel like this does add a little bit more depth in terms of the fullback position, where that's one position that the Loons are definitely a little bit shorthanded. And while Onel Fisher definitely a guy that didn't really do so well with the Galaxy, I think overall he's a decent utility player, and for this Loons team that desperately needs some depth in terms of the fullback position, I think he could be a good fit. And as we speak, he could also be started in that opening day game against the Philadelphia Union, because as I mentioned, I don't think Matt Turner is going to be ready enough to play that opening game between Minnesota and Philly in Philly in that one. Now the Colorado Rapids, they of course made some big news again, as they have sold Austin Trusty to Arsenal. So here we are, another latest MLS player going to Arsenal. It seems like Arsenal are really digging into the MLS market after we heard that Matt Turner is going to be potentially leaving New England in the summer to join Arsenal. But, you know, in the case of Austin Trusty, I mean, you know, if you're an Arsenal fan watching this video, all I'll say is that, you know, this is a kid that he's definitely on the edge of potentially breaking into the national team, and he has definitely shown a lot of promise during his time with the Rapids, and even during his early days with the Union. And I believe he's also a player that kind of came out of the Union Academy, which, by the way, speaking of the Philadelphia Union, they must be very happy about this deal too, because they also get some of that sweet general allocation money as part of the deal. That, you know, if the Rapids does sell Austin Trusty, the Union was going to get a lot of sell-on fee in terms of game out of it, and that of course is the case. But overall, I think it works out for both parties. You know, with the Rapids, yes, you know, they are going to lose a little bit depth in terms of the defense, but it's pretty clear that Austin Trusty, knowing if he wants to get himself back into the national team picture, he need to, of course, make a big move off to Europe. Though Arsenal is kind of an interesting one. I mean, I know the Rapids and Arsenal does have that connection, knowing the fact that, you know, they're both owned by Stan Kroenke. But, you know, will Trusty get minutes with Arsenal? I'm not sure. I mean, it seems like he's going to maybe find himself in the same situation as Matt Turner, where he's probably not going to get as much minutes with Arsenal, and maybe it's better off for him to loan to somewhere else. But at least I will say with Austin Trusty, unlike how Matt Turner unfortunately is a goalkeeper, and, you know, with goalkeeper, you know, if you are a second string or even third string goalkeeper, you don't get a lot of chance of playing time. Whereas if you're an outfield player, in this case with Austin Trusty, even if you're a second string or third string player that is deep into the depth chart, there's an injury crisis, you can get some minutes. Or if you're playing in some of those lower league competition, which I think Arsenal this season, they're not actually involving any of the lower league competition like FA Cup or even the Carabao Cup. You know, there's a chance that he of course could feature, but we'll see whether or not if he of course will get minutes with Arsenal, and maybe could be loaned out to somewhere else if he isn't going to get some minutes. Now, Atlanta United, they have announced that they have officially sold George Bello to Armenia Bielefeld. So, you know, the George Bello saga of where exactly he's going to be moving to Europe has finally ended this week. And, you know, Armenia Bielefeld, that is definitely not a club that I thought he was going to go, and especially with the way that I heard it was only $2 million. That's definitely not as much as I think Atlanta would hope to sell one of their biggest asset in terms of young players overseas. But nevertheless, you know, Bello is going to be going to the Bundesliga, and you know about the Bundesliga, of a league that is just kind of almost welcome open arms to young American player, and that we have seen before. A lot of these Bundesliga teams will always give young Americans a chance to thrive. So yeah, we'll see how George Bello is gonna do with Armenian Bielefeld, who I think they're in a relegation battle right now, and he's gonna kind of join Ricardo Pepe in terms of seeing, of course, if they can keep their team in the Bundesliga. And, you know, I don't really have any money in terms of who exactly is going to most likely stay with their stay in the Bundesliga. Either, you know, George Bello going to Armenia or Ricardo Pepe going to Augsburg. But you know that I think Bello is going to get some minute with that club, and that would be good, because that could be a good chance for him to get himself back into the conversation of being into the national team. Now, moving on, in terms of the next news, and talk about some extension. CF Montreal, of course, signed Rudy Camacho to a contract extension, and a news topic that I actually also didn't put here on the board, that I also know that another player got a contract extension, is Everton Luis getting a contract extension to RSL, and overall both of these contract extensions are deserved. You know, Rudy Camacho, as much as he can be at times an inconsistent player and can be a little bit of a hot-headed player. I mean, you know, he kind of in some way indirectly cost Montreal for us losing that final game against Orlando City, getting sent off in the 79th minute. But nevertheless, he actually had a really decent year with Montreal, and actually has been very solid in that Montreal backline. And then, of course, Everton Luis, good utility player for RSLs, and well-deservedly getting a contract extension. Now, moving on in terms of the next news, and now talk about some transfer reports. Now, there is a report suggests that Christian Pavón agent is in negotiation to bring his clients to the LA Galaxy. And I mean, I don't want to say I kind of told you so, but yeah, I kind of told you that this was going to happen. That I've said that the Galaxy, it would be kind of a fool for them to not even think about Christian Pavón and bring him back, knowing, you know, when he was with the Galaxy, how much of a big impact that he made with this team. And there's always that chance that they can, of course bring him back, knowing the fact that they have now free some spot in terms of the DP role. Though I will say that, you know, moving on into the next news, the Galaxy is going to be using one of their DP, and they're going to use it on Douglas Costa, which means I think, if I do the math correctly, I mean, right now we know Chicharito is a designated player, and then Douglas Costa is going to be a designated player, and obviously JDS is no longer there. That occupies that DP contract. So I think the Galaxy might have one more DP available, if I'm not mistaken. And again, it makes perfect sense for them to, of course, use that DP on Christian Pavón, because, you know, he is the guy that when he was with the Galaxy, he was really a threat going for it on the attack. And the fact that they haven't even thought about bringing him back, and especially, you know, with that combination of both Pavón and Chicharito there, that would be a very dangerous dynamic duo in the league, and you could maybe even argue the most dangerous dynamic duo in heading into this season in the league. So this would make perfect sense if the Galaxy eventually is going to snatch Pavón back to this team. But as for Douglas Costa, I mean, I kind of already mentioned before of the fact that there's mixed feelings about this move. On one hand, I think he still does have talent to do well, but there's always that issue with injuries, and also his problem in terms of off the field situation. And this also kind of is a move where I know Galaxy fans have said that this might be another Giovanni Dos Santos situation, where remember when they gave big money to GDS, and it just turns out to be bad, because GDS doesn't really want to play for the team. And in some way, it kind of also sort of happened the same with his brother, although in fairness to Jonathan Dos Santos, he actually did appear more games, well, actually almost around the same amount of games that his brother Giovanni did. But at least with Jonathan Dos Santos, he didn't have that kind of off the field situation, and just kind of was frozen in the team because he was not happy with how he's been put on the bench for the Galaxy. And instead, the issue why JDS was such a liability was because of injury. So this is almost kind of a combination of both Dos Santos' brother into problems into one with what we've seen with Douglas Costa. But like I said, he still has that talent in him, and you know it is definitely a risk of having him as a DP player. But we shall see if that, of course, would pay off heading into this upcoming season. Now, Shaq Moore is reported to be linked with a move to Nashville SC. So, you know, Shaq Moore, it seems like there is a chance that, you know, he hasn't really done well during his time in Europe. And we talk about so many times where when you have American players, when they of course do well in MLS, they eventually will make the move to Europe. But we haven't talked about how when of course there's decent American player doing well in Europe, and they of course eventually will make a move to MLS, and kind of the opposite. Though I will say in this case, as I mentioned, you know, Shaq Moore hasn't really had the best of time in Europe right now, and it seems like he most likely is looking to try to move back to the US and back to MLS, and it seems like Nashville is the prime target, and this absolutely would make perfect sense because, you know, after losing Alistair Johnston this off season to Montreal, you know, getting Shaq Moore, I think that could equally be as an upgrade to this Nashville team. I mean, obviously, I think losing Alistair Johnston is going to be tough for them, and especially, I think he is definitely considered one of the best and top 5 fullbacks in this league. Shaq Moore is not that bad too. I mean, there's times where when he was with the national team, especially during Nations League and during the Gold Cup, he actually was very decent. So I think overall, you know, for Nashville, they should definitely take this signing, and that I do think that Shaq Moore could definitely be a good replacement for Alistair Johnston, albeit it will be, I would say, a little slight downgrade, though the fees will not be as much, and they kind of also would still make a net gain of bringing Shaq Moore after selling Alistair Johnston for around $1 million of general allocation money. Now, moving on into the last news involving some transfer that has happened is FC Cincinnati, who has mutually terminated Kyle Scott's contract. Now, this is a guy that was, when he went to FC Cincinnati, I thought it was kind of a weird signing because, you know, he hasn't really done well when he was a kid that you know, remember when he was with Chelsea and was part of that loan army that tends to go to everywhere on loan before sailing with Newcastle, and now it seems like he decided to go to FC Cincinnati in search for minutes, and it has not worked out whatsoever. So yeah, it's unfortunate that of course it is going to be the case, but you know, this seems like, of course, it was the right move, even though I think his contract wasn't really that big of a cap hit, and that FC Cincinnati can, of course, afford to terminate his contract. But like I said, I always thought that this was a weird move, and that it didn't seem like it's gonna work out, and there you have it. It didn't work out whatsoever. Now, just tomorrow, after he announced his retirement this season with TFC, it's not a big surprise that he also have now announced that he's going to be going to the TFC front office. I mean, again, this is kind of normal when you have a club legend like just tomorrow is with Toronto, that he's going to be going to the front office, and it seems like that, of course, is now the case, and we'll see how he, of course, will do with this TFC front office, and how he's going to do in the executive role. I mean, I always thought that maybe he might think about pursuing his career in coaching after he retired, but we've seen before where there's some decent player after an amazing career, they might even transition into the front office role, and some of them are actually relatively successful in terms of transitioning into that role. But we'll see whether or not that's going to be the same case for just tomorrow. And then finally, the last news in terms of this news of the week involving Charlotte FC, who have announced that they have sold 60,000 tickets for their home opener against the LA Galaxy, and they're actually about 10,000 away from reaching the 70,000 mark, and potentially even reaching capacity level for that game. I mean, I won't be surprised that game is going to be completely sold out, because I've seen some of the tickets for this game, and some of them are really cheap. Like the tickets are only starting like $25 for this game, and albeit, yes, that is kind of like in the nosebleed section. I mean, $25 for an MLS game, that is an absolute bargain, and especially with the way that this is, of course, a very historical game for Charlotte FC, playing their first ever game in club history against such a powerhouse like the LA Galaxy. Yeah, I mean, I think it's impressive, the fact that the prices are at the rate that they are. I mean, I know that some of the tickets are also not cheap. Like, I know some are like over 3-digit, but that mostly are kind of like lower bowl kind of seat, like in the 100 level, where, yeah, obviously you're gonna pay a lot of money, especially when you're about to watch a very historical game like we've seen here. But, you know, give credit to Charlotte. You know, they definitely bring the hype, and that, you know, we'll see if they can, of course, break the attendance record, which, again, Bank of California, or not Bank of California Stadium, Bank of America Stadium. It's hard to believe now we have two stadiums that's kind of named similar, with LAFC playing in Bank of California, and now Charlotte playing at Bank of America Stadium. You know, it's going to be definitely exciting to see them potentially breaking the attendance record, and not to mention they do still their stadium does hold a little bit bigger than Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, and that of course is still at this time the stadium that has broke multiple attendance record for an MLS regular season game. But that being said, I am now going to switch boards and now finally talk about the game between the US versus Honduras in the World Cup Qualifier game that happened earlier today in Minnesota. So first of all, I know the big story coming out of this game that kind of overshadowed the fact that this was a must-win game for the US against Honduras, and they were able to do so by winning 3-0 against them, is the temperature of this game. And, you know, to some degree, I do agree with the fact that this game probably shouldn't have been played, and especially with the way that the game time temperature of this game was only 4 Fahrenheit and was -12 in terms of the wind chill. Yeah, that is just completely unsafe condition for players to basically play into. And this also maybe could be an example for CONCACAF to potentially in future World Cup qualifier maybe set a rule where you just cannot have that kind of extreme of a condition for a game to be host. But that being said, you know, there is a big reason why the US decided to choose this, and you know, the cold obviously is the big advantage, knowing the fact that they know that Central American team that usually play in the hot and humid, and to kind of play in the complete opposite in the cold like that, you knew that they weren't going to be adapted. And coming into this game, you can clearly see Honduras won no part of this game, and that this game kind of also almost looked very similar to the game that the US played against Honduras in the last World Cup qualifier in 2017. Remember that game? Where I actually did attend that one at what was called Avaya Stadium in San Jose, where the US, of course, were able to win 6-0 against Honduras, and that was the game that Dempsey, of course, got a hat trick. And although in this game it was kind of half of the amount of goal the US scored, with only being 3 goals. Could have been more if it wasn't for the Honduras goalkeeper, who was really kind of the only one that showed up in this. And notice the fact that I've also used goalkeepers with an S, because Honduras actually changed their goalkeeper in this game, and I guess maybe they decided to change it mainly because, you know, they have really nothing to play for, and also they want to kind of keep the safety of their player. That's why they try to make as much sub as possible and trying to not lead most of the team playing 90 minutes in sub-zero condition. Now, in terms of the starting 11 for the U.S., you got Matt Turner, Anthony Robinson, Miles Robinson, Walker Zimmerman, Reggie Cannon, Lucas De La Torre, Callan Acosta, Weston McKennie, Jordan Morris, Ricardo Pepe, and Tim Weah in the starting 11. And there's no doubt that there was a lot of changes in the starting 11, 7 changes in total, and most of these changes was expected because, you know, after that disastrous game against Canada, you knew Greg Berhalter was under heat in terms of have to make some changes to hopefully get this team back to being shown why they are one of the dominant team in the CONCACAF region. And it definitely worked, because the starting 11 that he chose in this game, you know, most of them play very well, but especially on the attacking front. You know, most of the attacker, in the case of Weston McKennie and Callan Acosta, turns out to have monster game in this one. Now, in the first half, speaking of which, McKennie gets the goal scoring working, as he scored from Acosta to give the U.S. a 1-0 lead, and it was huge, the fact that the U.S. would get an early lead, because this has been one of the biggest issues with this team. Like, this team, believe it or not, in this game where they actually were able to score 2 first-half goals, that is as many goals as they score in the entire octagonal in the first half that the U.S. has been played. And, you know, we talked about how, yes, as well as this team is kind of a second-half team, it would be nice for them to, of course, show up in the first half and not go behind in the 8 ball, or have to really fight out in the second half to get all 3 points. And they did exactly that by getting an early goal in this one to get the U.S. a 1-0. And not to mention the fact that this was a must-win game. It was very important for the U.S. to get that opening goal, and they did just that. And also, this one, of course, was coming off of a set piece, and set piece would be the devastating blow that they put Honduras in this game. I said the U.S., of course, were all over Honduras early. That would pretty much be the case for the entire 90 minutes, because, again, Honduras and most of the players, it just feels like they immediately checked out when they of course, saw what they're going to be in for. In fact, I think most of those players are probably checked out even during the pre-game warm-up, because again, none of those players has ever been in this kind of environment, and none of them must feel comfortable whatsoever coming into this kind of environment in this frigid kind of weather in Minnesota. Now, in the 19th minute, Lopez did deny Weah from long range before Weah should have scored, as he just couldn't quite toe poke it past Lopez. I mean, he did a good job in terms of bring that one down when the ball was lofted into the box, but he just could not quite show that composure to get past Lopez. I mean, Tim Weah, he's another guy that definitely had a great game and was kind of unfortunate to not get on the score sheet in this one. Another guy that didn't get on the score sheet is Ricardo Pepe, who, you know, you can still see that he's still lacking that confidence. Though he did try to do a scissor kick in this one to basically hit it in. I mean, if that one goes in, not only that's a great goal for the U.S., but a much needed goal for Ricardo Pepe, who has really been in that typical number 9 goal scoring drought right now, with him having been able to score a goal since October. But that one, of course, goes high, and I even said the U.S., they could have been leading 3-0 right now. Like, they were all over Honduras in this game. Though they eventually did make it 2-0 when Walker Zimmerman was able to get on the score sheet. I'm not sure if that's actually Zimmerman's first ever goal for the U.S., because I'm pretty sure I have seen him score once for the U.S. during his appearance for the national team. But if it is his first goal, congratulations. And what's even interesting about his first career goal for the U.S. is the fact that this did not come on a header. Like, when you see Walker Zimmerman score a goal, you know it's going to be a header goal, because he's just such a dangerous weapon in the air. But no, this was kind of a bit of a scrappy goal that kind of came into him from a set piece, and he basically just slots it home to give the U.S. a 2-0 lead. And then, of course, I also wrote the U.S. have already scored as many first half goals as they did in the entire octagonal, with them, you know, scoring two goals in this game, which equals the 2 goals that they have had all octagonal in terms of the first half goals. Now, in the second half, at least with really the only chance for Honduras, as he basically skies that one in the stands. I think that was the first shots that Honduras has had, and only one of 2 shots that Honduras would have for the entire game. Honduras, as I mentioned, they of course actually end up playing with 2 goalkeeper, and they decided to sub in Mejiva in for the second half. And he actually had a decent second half. He first denied Weah from close range the 49th minute before Acosta tried to do a random layout, trying to do a little cross shot from across that Mejiva had to puts it over, or have to tip it over. Pepe then puts it wide from 12 yards out in the 58th minute. I mean, if that was a confident Pepe, he would have definitely put that one into the back of net before Mejiva denied Morris from close range in the 59th minute. But then in the 67th minute, Pulisic scoring from Zimmerman to give the U.S. a 3-0 lead to pretty much put the dagger in the Honduran heart. I mean, I actually wouldn't say that's a dagger, considering the fact that it seems like Honduras was going to lose this game from minute 1. But that also is a huge goal for another guy that is lacking confidence, that is Christian Pulisic. I mean, he actually ended up scoring 2 goals in this one. One of them, of course, didn't count, as I, of course, will talk about. But this goal that did count in the 67th minute, I mean, this was huge for him, because in this game, Greg Berhalter even kind of decided to put him on the bench, and in some way kind of bench him in this game because of the lackluster performance that he has in the past couple of games. But, you know, with him finally getting a goal, and we know that the old cliche, when you get a goal, it can definitely give a lot of confidence to you. And I feel like this goal, you know, not only is important for the U.S. to kind of kill this game off, but it's more important in the long term that hopefully this will get Christian Pulisic going, and that hopefully finally we're going to get a guy that is supposed to be the heart and soul and supposed to be the poster boy of this team finally get himself out of this slump of a form that he's been in. Aronson then in the 78th minute went down in the box. No penalty was given. I thought that was a right call, because I thought that was very, very soft for Brendan Aronson to pretty much decide to dive in the box. But not a bad effort. I mean, I guess Brendan Aronson must have saw all those CONCACAF kind of moves, and he's trying to do the same thing here. But nevertheless, you know, in this case, the CONCACAF referee in this game, they did not get fooled by that whatsoever. Then Rodans got it into the wonder wall from 18 yards out in the 86th minute. Before it looked like it was going to be 4-0 in favor of the U.S. when Pulisic basically scored the 4th goal. But unfortunately, the goal was disallowed for offside on the attacking sequence. But before this goal was scored, I think there was a Honduran defender. He actually not only cleared off the line once, he cleared off the line twice in that same sequence. Like, that is probably the first time I've ever seen a same player clear a ball off the line twice, because the fact that, you know, to do it once is already impressive, but to do it twice, to just get yourself back up on your feet and clear it for the second time, that seems like an impossible task. And you can definitely see he was devastated when Pulisic basically puts it into the back of net. But, you know, the flag basically kind of saved his devastation up a little bit. But even then, that really kind of wouldn't have mattered if the flag would have raised up on the attacking sequence. I believe it was Aronson, the one that was caught offside. But nevertheless, in the end, the U.S. with a comfortable 3-0 win against Honduras to now get them up to, well, actually not up to, but still in second place in the standings and at 21 points. Shots in this one, 16 shots compared to 2 that Honduras had, 8 shots on goal compared to none that Honduras had, 5 shots off target compared to 2 that Honduras had, 3 shots that was blocked compared to none that Honduras has had, and possession-wise, 73% possession compared to 27% possession that Honduras has in this game. And again, you know, depending on how you look, you could either say that this was one of the better performances that the U.S. has had in this CONCACAF World Cup Qualifier, or you can take the very pessimistic, or also known as the U.S. men's national team fan kind of perspective, the fact that, yes, they, of course, were able to get a comfortable win in this one, but it's against Honduras, who, again, they won no part in terms of playing in this game. I mean, I feel like they probably should have just boycotted, or maybe even just forfeit this game. And if they do forfeit the game, it would have been the same result as how this game, of course, would win. But, you know, like I said, the big discussion, of course, about this game is going to be the temperature. And again, it's unfortunate that of course, is the case, that these players has to deal with sub-zero condition. And believe me, you know, when you're playing in sub-zero condition, it's not a joke whatsoever. It is incredibly difficult, and you're really risking the player safety by playing in such a harsh condition like that. And I can even maybe say the same with not just the players, but also the fans in the stands. I mean, it's got to be incredibly difficult, even in a fan's perspective, to, of course, watch this game in person, because unlike how the players, at least they get the benefit with the way that they're kind of running around the field and your bodies, of course, warm up. If you're a fan, you're basically just sitting there to watch the game, and yeah, I mean, sitting in sub-zero temperature, there's a reason why, and also there's a reason why I actually didn't think about attending this game. I mean, I know this game was at Allianz Field, and I really want to go to this one. But then when I found out that this was in February, and knowing how brutal the weather it is in Minnesota in February, I just basically give a hard pass. And I think it's good, the fact that I give a hard pass, because I would have just completely froze my hands off if I decide to be in the stands in this one. But yeah, you know, overall, but, you know, besides the temperature itself, you know, overall this World Cup window, I mean, I don't know, would you say this is considered a success? Because I know that 2-0 loss against Canada will definitely be one thing to talk about, and then the unconvincing win against El Salvador, just to show that maybe this team could be good enough to qualify for the World Cup, but not enough in terms of getting out the group. And also, not to mention, in this game, they still have that issue in terms of finishing. I mean, the final third was definitely much better in this game, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that Calvin Acosta just basically played out of his mind in this game, and well, he deserved the man of the match award in this one. But, you know, the finishing is still a problem with this team, and, you know, when you're a team heading into the latter stage of this World Cup qualifier and heading into the World Cup, when you do face against tougher team and you are given the chance to score and you don't take advantage of it, it can come back to haunt on this team. But for now, I think all we can say is that at least the U.S. got the job done and did the bare minimum to get all 3 points, and now put themselves in a very good position to qualify for the World Cup in Qatar heading into December. But yeah, let me know in the comments below, what do you think about this game? And also let me know in the comments below, what do you think about, or what do you think about some of the news that happened in the news of the week? Because I gotta remember, this is kind of a 2-for-1 video where I'm kind of doing a review of the US versus Honduras and also doing the news of the week in the same video. But let me know in the comments below, what do you think of the news that has happened in the past week, and if there's any news I didn't mention on the previous board, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.